Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dream Team. Hope you're all doing really well. We've got a beautiful guest today. She's one of my favorite people, and she's Deb in Delight, which I think is a really clever name because Deb is amazing. She's a beautiful color therapist specialist. I don't know anyone else that interprets color as Deb does. It's a real gift. And also, she not only that, but Deb does oils. So her knowing of the oils and then also interpreting color through that is amazing. And she's a sound therapist. So I know this woman is very, very talented. So I've known Deb for years, and it was really interesting because Deb's and I have often talked about dreams as well. So Zan and I are dream buddies, and we've often done some beautiful interpretation with dreams together. So Deb, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Magic. I'm pretty good. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. I'm very spoiled. I've got some beautiful neighbours that we went out on their catamaran yacht
Oh,
yesterday,
no.
and it was the most stunning day. And there was whales like
There
really
were whales?
close
Oh,
to the
wonderful.
boat. There was a big loggerhead turtle. There was I think there was some dolphins splashing around at one point, but it was just magic. It was pure magic. So
Perfect. Perfect
oh,
day.
I know. And then we had a gorgeous lunch with all these beautiful people on this beautiful boat. And I'm just going, oh, I'm so blessed. So, yeah. So
Yes.
thank you, Tanya and Bruce. So that was me. Yeah. So, and how have you been? What's been happening?
Oh, just keep on ticking away. In fact, I've had some very interesting experiences in just really dropping into really following the intuition because Andy's away at the moment. So I've been painting rocks and doing the gardening. So all guided by the next thing that feels like it's there, giving the mind a bit of a break. So it's been a really interesting play on how far, and I got a lot more done than I would have done had I been thinking about it, and I can drop into that flow. So it's nice to be in flow state.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think at this time, there's so much frequency and energy coming in, and we're going through these big clean outs and shifts and changes that just doing what you just said, like being in intuition and going with that flow, oh, it can be so calming.
Yeah.
And yet you feel like you're creating something. So, yeah,
Well, you feel like you shouldn't be wasting time, but in effect, doing those things that give you just random joy with the beauty of life or beauty of color or the presence in a moment seems to somehow extend your timeline. So the more you can drop into doing, avoiding the trap or the being drawn into social media or drawn into the fastness,
yeah,
I found it actually quite liberating to reset myself in that way. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And it's true, and it's easy to get into that rut of
Yeah.
just,
Sure.
just doing and not really feeling into it. So, but this is why I think the dreams are beautiful as well, because it really helps us to drop into that intuitive subconscious place to interpret them. And so
Oh,
that's
God.
why I think it's, yeah,
Yeah.
so
I
important.
think
So,
when I first met Andy, it was like, look, don't interrupt me between like 6:30 and 7:30 ever. He's a very early bird, but that's my
in the
time
morning,
for
yeah,
dreaming. And it's always been something in my heart that if I can't connect to my dreams, I find it more difficult to get through the day. Whereas if I've just touched something, I usually find that feedback from the subconscious to be really supportive in, I don't know, it's crazy, but knowing how to set myself up for the day. And if I
yeah,
don't have that, I feel very ungrounded. And over the last 30 years, sort of that's developing to a place where I can't really tell the difference between being awake and dreaming at the moment. So, and I'm not sure if it's a bit like that saying, are you the butterfly dreaming you're a human or a human dreaming within a butterfly? So
yeah.
but I definitely need that
Yeah, and
most.
I think once we do connect in with dreams, they do become extremely important. But you're right. I mean, we're living in a matrix of a video game, and so it is like that exactly. So I know that's really well said. So all right. So we have got some dreams that people have sent to me. So thank you everyone for all the dreams you send. If you can't be on live, you can send them to iam@magicmaree.com and I will pop them up on the show for you so you can watch them afterwards. So no one misses out, which is awesome. So Deb, should we just jump in and do you want to just start
Yeah,
reading
I'll
a dream
just
from
oh, there
Elizabeth?
you go. So, from Elizabeth, I just awoke to see a metal looking disc. Before seeing the disc, maybe an hour or so before, I saw several male faces. However, my custom is that I frighteningly dismiss them as soon as they appear. These were not any recognizable faces, nor did they arouse any emotion in the short space of time that they existed. The disc is something I've seen many times, but I can't recall exactly where. It's almost as if I'm thinking that there's nothing to it, just an insignificant item. Mm.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And thanks, Elizabeth. And Elizabeth actually sent a picture. She was very clever. She drew a picture and managed to email it to me as well, but I couldn't share it on here.
Mm, mm,
But what straight away what I was tuning into as well is with those male faces, Elizabeth, when I used to go to sleep and I'd be going through the astral plane, often just before sleep. I'm not sure when you experienced this, but I would find I would have these faces coming through. Sometimes
mm,
I would even have voices like someone was having a conversation through me um, as I was going to sleep. And I really feel that that could be the astral plane. Now, I
mm.
have had this as well when I've been in a deep meditation or I've had energy that's been running. So, Deb, have you experienced that before?
Oh yeah, I've had certain dreams where like the faces come up right in your face,
Yeah.
or things that I wake up to. It's a lot closer than I'm imagining that would be in my mind. But my first interpretation here is about the mode of transport that's the metal looking disc. I find in my life, I've always had dreams of a plane, or it's gone from trying to stuff the bags closed to get in the taxi, to get on the plane, to get somewhere, and eventually it's sort of progressed on to sometimes I'm flying the plane now. So it's been a lifetime journey, and I would say for Elizabeth, looking at the metal disc that's been around for her for some time, it's for me it's like a relationship with the higher consciousness levels that will interact with the different dimensions, but also about raising her consciousness into the place where that information is accessible, and it's observing the relationship. So I noticed she said it hasn't been really significant as an item there, but it could be that it's calling you to tune into the place that does receive the messages from that. And yeah, I think that fourth dimensional, the faces in there can be like, the masculine side of life. So I'd be saying, like, be receptive to the feminine warrior energy as well in protecting us in going through that dimension to
Yeah.
connect to the fifth dimension and beyond, I would say. But of
That
course,
was
it's
so beautifully said because, yeah, I looked up UFO for Elizabeth because I
not.
thought, well, and you're absolutely spot on. It said refer to airplane, and we know that the
Oh,
airplane
funny.
is our spiritual journey. So,
Right.
yeah, Elizabeth, I feel this is sort of an awakening of and potential of your spirituality, which is really beautiful. Um, so, yes, and with the faces, I know I never had emotion with it either. I just observed, and it was like, oh, okay. But so what I
Mm,
do now is I actually make sure I'm in a higher frequency before I go to sleep, and I bypass that fourth dimension completely to go into the
mm,
higher
mm.
echelons. So this is something that you may be just preparing yourself to do as well.
Yeah.
Have that
I would say it's
intention.
important to protect the Merkaba, or the light body, as well, to just be, and even if you're within a dream, if you could start to look at a totem in your mind, if it is about development of higher consciousness, if there's a totem that you have in this waking world that you can actually imagine in your hand in your dream state, then when you actually connect to that, you sort of ask it a few times through the day, is this a dream? Am I dreaming? And then you can actually awaken within the dream to be able to access the higher consciousness by directly kind of asking a question. But you do generally need a totem or a color or a something that you do, you know. It could be looking at a clock and you might see the clock melt, or you look at the clock and it says it's 2 a.m. in the morning, but the sun's out, something that wakes you into going, oh, hang on a minute, this is the dream and I'm fully protected. And what can I gather from that information?
That's brilliant.
Protection is important.
Yeah. And
Mm.
I think Zan said that once, she in a dream she went, I'm awake in my dream. I'm going to ask questions. And so she was
Yeah.
just asking questions about everything. Why is that color in my dream? Why am I in my garage? Da, da, da. So I
Yes.
think that's really good advice. Now, I love how you talk about a talisman or a token of some sort. So would you, even a crystal, if they're, they've got a favorite crystal
Yeah.
or what?
I found it's more like, for me, I've woken up in my dreams riding a motorbike with thongs on. So I've gone, hang on a minute, there's no way I would do that in my waking life, because I've had a father who was a bike rider. So it's definitely like not going on with shoes. I would have been killed.
Yeah.
So something, a lot of people use an apple, or when they try to manifest an apple in their hand. Am I dreaming? And if you imagine an apple and then it turns to a pear or an orange, then you've got a good indication that you're lucid dreaming. So a talisman or a gesture or something, some people use a rubber band on their hand, or they flick just something that you do each day that makes you just stop and really become aware of the situation you're in this dimension. And then if you get used to doing that, when you're looking up, you'll notice something that's not quite right in the dream space. And then that usually allows you to wake up. First couple of times you might go, wee, oh my God, and then it goes. But if you keep picking the talisman, the crystal, but if you've got a crystal in your hand, you imagine it growing into a different crystal or doing something that we know wouldn't happen in this dimension.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, and for me, it's feeling. I know you can't feel clouds when you're here, but with my dreams, if I'm lucid dreaming, I
Yes.
feel things like that. They're
Yeah, yeah.
tangible.
When
So,
they say pinch yourself to see if you're awake, it's like, yeah,
yeah.
no, I hurt in the dream too.
And what was that movie? Oh my God! And I only just watched it again recently, where they were in dreams, and then they would go deeper. They
Yes,
were using and
that's
go into
exactly
another dream, and he used the spinning top to see
the
if he was
talisman.
actually dreaming. The talisman.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's
I wish I
called
could remember.
Leonardo DiCaprio. It was an amazing movie called Inception.
That's it.
I've watched
Honestly,
it
guys, watch
several
it.
times. It's amazing, and it's been very true to the way I drop into different layers of my dreams as well, because there's a higher level. Somebody in there had been talking about dreaming about a lot of the things that they see day to day. That's sort of
Yeah.
accessing one part of the processing unit of our brain. It just reflects certain dreams there. But as you drop down within different layers, you'll find things are harder to grasp, but more deeply, profoundly
Mm.
affecting as you get closer and closer to the core of your inner being. So, yeah, recommend that movie. Andy hasn't
Yeah,
got through in the 5 times we've tried to watch it.
he hasn't been able to. I got so much more out of it just watching it that second time, and I thought, I
Oh,
think I'm
it's
gonna watch
amazing.
this again because this is
Amazing.
really, really powerful.
Mm.
So Inception, thank you for that. So thank you, Elizabeth. I hope that helps you to understand why you're seeing that disc, and it's beautiful. It's actually just it is a message from your
It's
higher self.
nice that it keeps repeating and that it's
Yeah,
there for you, waiting for you to actually awaken to explore that within your day-to-day life as well.
absolutely. I love it. So, all right. So let's go on to Nick's dream.
Okay, so the prelude was receiving some money from the tax office, so I asked for a dream. And with the extra cash, I wanted a 528 hertz tuning fork. So I went to the Sydney City and into the Macquarie Bank to do a transaction. Someone in the bank saw Kevin Costner and Melanie Griffiths get into a car as if they were arrested. And I said loudly, "It wasn't them. They're not alive. Anyone awake knows this." All the customers inside were completely still and silent and sitting on chairs on the floor, all complying as in a hold-up, except for me. So a man held a cash drawer while yelling over a loudspeaker, "You are not a hostage, this is your money." I exited through a glass window and saw people panicking, confused, in fear. A woman clung to me and said, "You know what's going on, I need you to tell me." I told her to release me, and in time I would, and I walked away from the chaos.
Wow, what a super duper dream. And just as well, Nick said this was from 2022. So yeah, which was really interesting. And I love, Nick, that you had something happen in your life, like you got this unexpected money back, and then you asked for a dream to help you to interpret something with it or what was, going on. So yeah, so look, straight away when I was looking at this, it's a bank. So I looked up bank for you, Nick, and the fact that Nick named this the hold up. And I always recommend this to people if you're having a dream, actually give it the name. What would you call it if it was a movie? And that way it helps you to remember it. So
Yeah.
so this is perfect. The hold up is just perfect. So thank you for that. And a bank. So a bank is a money as well, because it was about money. It's about big changes. When we have coins or something like that in our dream, they're usually smaller changes. So money is a big change going on. And the bank, and it says it's a cosmic exchange, an energy vault, unlimited resources. So, Nick, I'm going to bring this back to you personally. It's collective unconscious, okay? So, reservoir of all knowledge and ideas you may draw upon at any time. So, to me, this is your subconscious saying that money you got is only a small amount of what your true value is, or what is really maybe going on as well. Now, the fact that Kevin Costner and Melanie Griffiths were there, that's interesting, because remember, Zan always talks about, she sees these famous people as being guides and actually helping in a situation. So it'd be interesting to see maybe what your feelings, Nick, around Kevin and Melanie are, but maybe they were angels or guides in it. So what do you think so far, Deb?
I'd have to agree, and just so everyone knows, I haven't seen these before, so it's just an instant impression or an opinion. It's not anything I've looked at, but I love the energy that this is showing a direction in your road, or a fork in your road, where your choice is about, are you looking to do something you really love in the world, or are you looking to be held hostage to the entire system? It feels to me that the feminine in you is very, perhaps the feminine energy is something you're embodying, but there's a strong warrior woman in you that's actually going forward. I love that you're walking away from the chaos. You're not involved in the chaos. You've awakened the witness within at that time. So I really like that you've awakened the witness to observe what's going on in the emotional field about what it is, the direction that your life is taking in, where it is that you might like to exchange your energy for some kind of flow rather than feeling trapped within. So it'd be interesting to see if she did change from jobs, etc., during that time, if this was an older dream.
Yeah, no, I think she's definitely been really moving forward in community and doing things. So,
Nice.
but it's interesting with that tuning fork as well, which is, that beautiful frequency. Do you
528,
do you
it's love.
remember if the 582 is around? Where are we?
528 is moving from flow. It's around the flow, love, gratitude area.
Okay, thank you. So, because I'm just looking up music as well to see if that can give us anything. Music, yeah, healing, creative flow of life, joyful, uplifting, inner harmony, peace, and beauty. So that's what you're wanting, which is interesting. That's what you wanted to buy with your extra cash. So that's really lovely, Deb. Thank you. So so I would say that you had some new guides coming in as well at that time, Nick, with those famous people, and the fact that someone said, you have to tell me what's going on. So you knew what was going on. You're a very awake person to the system and how things have been, manipulated for so long. So there's a deeper aspect, maybe waking up as well.
Yeah. I also feel when I used to often have a dream about Tom and Nicole.
Did you?
I've always had a lot of famous people dropping in as well, but it's kind of, for me, it's like it reflects a little bit of truth.
Yeah.
It reflects the difference between the lies that we may tell ourselves and the truth that we're existing within. So I sense that wanting the 528 is wanting to be able to express the truth of love and flow, and really knowing that the chaos is something that we want to move away from. So it's like that still feels like it's guiding us into a new direction there to speak your truth, whether, and your truth may have been like you would speak it in front of them and on behalf of them, and in whether they're there or not, whether they were famous or not, it's finding a deeper sense of, I would stand and shout this out.
And that's perfect, because I just got the message to look up hostage, and it says rejected or imprisoned part of self. So yes, that's beautifully said about that expression of
The
Yeah,
truth,
what's the
yeah.
truth? And it was really hard back then because a lot of people weren't in that
Mm,
same knowing, and it was very difficult to talk to some people about it. So
that's right.
so thank you. Okay, and then where are we now? And then Nick just had a comment on that as well.
Yeah, I think that with that, it's potentially an alternative reality, of course, because we've got lots of those that go on. But given that our body's here, this is where our consciousness needs to come as well sometimes. And I think the subconscious needs to process a lot of the experiences that we've had during the day. So as we're reliving a situation or imagining a situation, to me, it's the conscious mind working out with the subconscious mind the kind of the rest and digest of what we've just received. So I think it's a good thing. And as those things get processed, it gives us a way of looking at life or practicing different approaches within that time in order to drop further into receiving a deeper message. So it's like continuing a trustworthy conversation with the truth of the self and being able to observe it from different angles.
That's
So,
beautiful. Yeah, and especially now because she was saying it's more about everyday life with the people in her community. So, that change has really taken it into a new place.
oh, and
Um,
then she's got like yeah, there's too many visions to drop down. Um, but where I feel it's the same as what you just said before, if you can name the dream or something. So if I'm getting lots of that subconscious stuff, I'm dropping out of the brain into my feeling to go, what one is impressing upon me most with the emotional connection or a feeling connection. So it's like, yeah, 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 boom, that's the one. You'll feel it in your body. So it's kind of like a connection then with the blue of all of our mind, our perception, our inspiration, our clarity, dropping down past that into our heart space or into our emotional center where we're digesting the things that have gone on. And when I will, being the yellow, meets thy will, then we've got the opening of the heart space. So we've got a new direction and a new space that we find ourselves in. So it's a beautiful thing to be awake to for the same reason, like being able to let go of the mind chatter, but find the peace within that and be able to make that reconcile with our emotions so we can get to work out how we feel about those things rather than try and observe the whole vision, but just try and observe which feelings got that greatest charge or impulse.
with
I
it.
think that then makes it more significant. Mm.
Yeah. No, I think that's brilliant. So, thanks, Deb. That's really awesome. Zan's on. Hey, Zan. She's only just got back from her trip. So
Thanks.
it's so nice to see you. And Zan will be back next week as well. So, now where are we up to? So, okay, with the Lisa sent us in a dream.
Okay. I'm in a sort of like a car boat camper that's in a pool. Oh, I love those ones. That's gigantic. And a famous person comes in and I look at him and he realizes that I recognize that he's famous. So he kind of walks around the car and the boat. And as the boat goes around the corner, there's even more famous people. It was exciting to see them in a natural setting. Oh, that's interesting. That was a second dream or dream.
No, that
Yeah.
was the first part of the dream. So
Oh,
I
I
guess we
think it
can
was
look at
the
that first.
second.
So, what's a car, a boat, or a camper? That's actually our life. So if
I'd say the vehicle again. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And if it's in a pool, it's gigantic. It's water. So we're
I
looking
love
at
that. Yeah.
emotional aspect,
Yeah.
and
And in a
again, a
pool,
famous
it's safe
person.
as well. Yeah.
So that famous person again could be a guide, or it could be an aspect of yourself that you see reflected through them. Just what Deb was saying before as well. Isn't that interesting though that he knows that he's recognized and that he's
Mhm.
famous?
Mm. Well, I think that's a beautiful connection to the vehicle that we're in shows a lot of travel, a lot of change, a lot of expansion, but also a lot of security because you're able to actually live in any one of those things in any situation. Like you said, being in the pool is like that's a nicer, light-hearted blue, but it feels secure and safe. that they're all within there. So yes, agree with that being the emotional field. So it's like, how can I travel within my emotional field, and what famous people or what aspects of my beingness am I relating to within the depths of my emotional being,
Yeah,
and recognizing the worth and the value that one has within. So that's actually quite a beautiful
it
dream.
is.
The
It is.
excitement of being in a nature is it's just become very natural to be honoring all of those valuable parts of the self.
And it's true because I just looked up pool in here in my beautiful Betty Bethard's book, and it says it's mirror. If swimming
I
pool suggests rest, relaxation, healthful exercise, emotional reflection of self, quiet, not particularly ruffled by the winds of change. Yeah, but the boundaries can be smaller if it's a pond. But this was a big pool, so they're very
yeah,
expanded. So that's really cool. So
yeah.
thanks, Deb. And then we'll have a look at the second part of that dream. It was still
Okay. So I'm in a meeting of some sort, and after the people leave, there's a woman left with her son who lives in the apartment. As she leaves, she's asked me, why is it that I don't have a meeting at my house? And I explained it was too small. Her son, I can tell, likes me a lot. And once she leaves, he starts trying to kiss me and say that I'm not interested while I am in this apartment. Mm. Oh, I look outside and there's water.
okay.
And in this water, I see an elephant swimming. And then a man gets naked and tries to kiss me again. I wasn't upset, but I decided to leave. Uh,
Wow. So, wow, what's going on
is this
there?
is this the same? The next one there is also, I wanted to document this dream. I was somewhere I can't describe, or is that a different one? Okay,
Let
eggs
me
is
just have a
different.
look. So, no,
Ooh.
that was a different one. So this is the that second part of that similar dream. How
Mm,
interesting! Because I want to look up elephant because that just jumped out at me before anything else. Yeah. So the elephant is a powerful part of self which can be gentle, helpful, or destructive. It's destructive only when frightened, and it didn't sound like there was any fear there at all. Also, keep the positive lessons for growth. Forget the negative dross of experience. Now, this is interesting. So, when we go through things in life, if something's triggered you or whatever, it's like we have to release that emotion from it and
mhm.
remember the lesson. And I know I find that hard to do sometimes. I go, oh, and then it's like, okay, Maree,
Yeah.
no, stop. What did you learn? It's okay. So, I think that's what the elephant's saying here. You do not have to remember everything, even though the elephant never forgets. So that was really, I think, pertinent for the rest of that dream. So what are you
Mm,
getting from this one, Deb?
wow. Well, I'm not getting a huge amount because I feel like I would need to know a bit more of a context as to what was going on in life.
Okay.
But I think it's about expansion and
Mm,
growth and speaking to a larger crowd, but also about intimacy. And there's something there to me about the masculine and the feminine coming together. So I don't know if there's something that's gone on in an earlier, in our childhood that's connecting. I feel like there's something about an inner child work going there,
yeah,
but also choices that are presented to her about wanting to connect deeply, but perhaps not on a surface intimate level.
yeah.
So that's kind of,
And I think because she's saying also in the dream her apartment was too small, so it's almost like it's time for, she's almost outgrown that, and it's time to
mm.
be moving into a bigger aspect. So yeah, that's beautiful. But
So I'm not sure if the woman and the son who live in the same apartment, or if that was an apartment building. So, and how old was that young kid? And basically, did she was that the man the same person who's grown up? Because that could also reflect, like, perhaps someone she knows who is integrating a joy about having had his inner child brought into his life as the reflection of,
it's
that
interesting with that joy.
connection.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. No, that
And
makes
I think
sense. So
elephants also quite significant also about staying practical, grounded, and here and family orientated,
yeah,
relates to strong family bonds. So it's almost like witnessing someone who has made that connection of their inner child to their adult self, and there's a lot of appreciation and love that's being shared, and there's still a bit of a detachment going on from there. So be
Yeah.
interesting to know.
Yeah,
If
no, definitely, more play.
yeah,
That playful joy is definitely, yeah, something, I know that's been worked on. Hi, Teresa, lovely to see you on a live. How are you? We're right. Where are we up to? We're up to, we've done that. So we're going into, oh, and these are other ones from Elisa as well, which are really
oh,
interesting.
I've just seen the other notes there. Hello.
Yeah, down the bottom. So yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to add something in there for Teresa
Oh,
about
Strikey's on. Hello.
when you're what might help, Teresa, is firstly just setting the intent that you're going to remember your dream, but also what I found really useful for me was setting an alarm clock on snooze, right?
Ah,
Because when you are remembering your dreams, you're in a different state within the mind, which is just before waking up or just after waking up. So if you can just quickly hit the snooze and allow yourself to drop off, every 7 minutes you should be able to drop into that particular space of remembering the dreams, and then you don't move, but you sense in the body, hold one vision. If you can just hold that whilst coming into your conscious mind, if you know what I mean. So you touch the feeling, or you touch a word, and it might just be like motor, 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 something that you can actually remember. And if you can
yep.
hold on to that until you wake up, then you usually have a direct thread into your dreams. And it does take practice to just stay there in the nothingness. And I certainly know what it's like if the mind chatter starts to happen instantly. So it's just like training your brain to breathe and be present at that particular moment, if that helps.
Yeah, it's great. And often too, just even having a little notebook and pen and write down one word. And sometimes, as Deb said, that can unravel the whole dream for you. Sometimes it takes me till 11 o'clock in the morning, then all of a sudden that one word will trigger something and I'll go right into the dream that I couldn't fully remember when I got out of bed. So you can also record it. Just use your phone or whatever and use your messages to
Mm.
record it, so that you don't have to link in too much to that sort of left side of the brain when you're still in that state. So,
Yeah.
and
And
have the intention.
if you
Mm,
have that on Zoom, usually I could get 3 or 4. And there's a
yeah.
certain point where if I go past a certain point of having dreams, they'll turn into nightmares, those types where I'm trying to run and
Mm.
can't get away, or feeling like really where I'm stuck in the physical body. That's when I know it's time to wake up, because it's like, okay, I'm stuck here in this loop and nothing really fresh is coming through. So 3 or 4 times on Zoom.
Yeah, no, they're not pleasant, are they? So, yeah. And yeah, guys, if you've got any dreams that you want to pop in or any questions, you can put questions in as well. We can chat about that. So, but we'll just pop back. I think Elisa had one more, so we can talk about that. But if any questions come in meantime, we'll stop and do the questions. So,
Okay.
okay, is this the one?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
So I was somewhere I can't describe, and I had to turn into someone a project related with eggs and another project related with batteries. I realized that the project with eggs had to have the egg in the shell, and I'd boiled them, so I'd taken the shell off. So I'd worried that I'd done it wrong and I was going to fail the project. I completely forgot to do the project for the batteries. So while I am trying to ask one man about the project, he's laying down on the ground and starts masturbating. So I'm thinking,
She has some
"Mate,
weird dreams.
really? Yeah. Okay." So I walk away. And the good news was that they passed by and they didn't have time. The good news was they passed by and they didn't have time for my project. So that was going to give me enough time to figure out how to do it right the next day.
Wow, how interesting. Eggs.
Well,
Okay.
mm,
So,
firstly, on that one, my first impression is that within the aurosoma system, we have an egg that surrounds our entire being that we build as part of our light body. And the more we build that, the more protected it is. So that's where my first thoughts went, because I also keep that egg filled daily. It's got to be sort of something that you connect with, and with your breath, you're filling out a protective layer of the quantum field. So once again, it's sort of bringing that attention back into the wholeness of this particular lady, and also having the protective shell, right? Given that there's a connection to batteries, the idea is as we fill up this egg that we are within, we're able to actually recharge and restore ourselves from our own inner energy rather than needing it externally. So I think the eggs and the batteries came together. Perhaps there wasn't that connection. And the fact that a guy just starts to lay on the ground and play with himself, it makes me just think that this lady's being distracted by physical connections in the 3D, or the 3D world of where people are being brought into operating from the base and the sacral chakras. Like the 70% or 80% of the way we live in the world is based on those bottom three chakras. So given that there's the connection to wanting to gain higher levels of consciousness, but there's always seems to be this reminder of the 3D through, and it seems to be the masculine effect of sexuality there. So it's like, yeah, it's just making me sort of think that we can be in the world, but not of the world, because she's sort of looking at it and actually choosing to move on rather than indulge in getting stuck in that particular space.
And that, you said that so perfectly, because I looked up egg. It says closed in, and which is that beautiful egg you were talking about, which is our etheric electromagnetic spiritual field as well. Seed of a new life ready to open. But used humorously, you laid an egg, reevaluate your act, which is interesting. And then battery as well, life force or energy, connection to God's self. Regular recharge through meditation keeps your battery high. So that, I thought that was exactly what you've been talking about.
Yeah.
So that's beautifully. But isn't it interesting how our subconscious or our higher self knows that an egg and a battery will bring about this understanding? It's like, we couldn't dream this up ourselves.
Yeah, that's the whole aura soma system, is the connection to the light body, and building the light connections and the light links within our own chemistry. So yeah, and it does charge us up if we're looking within for our own source rather than looking without. So that's good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, books confirming.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, isn't it wonderful that you just go into your wisdom and knowledge of your color, your aura soma, all of that, and your intuition, and it's there. So it shows 30 years of doing dream analysis does help. And Teresa's actually said, Teresa, who was asking about how to remember dreams, she actually says what she can remember. Do you want to read that one out for us?
Yeah, this is a different one. Yeah. Okay. So the only thing I can remember from a dream at the moment is one of me and my granddaughter, and I've laughed about it for a few months now. I'm trying to shoot a guy attacking me, and my bullets are just barely coming out of the gun. Oh, I feel that one, and just bounce off him. I'm not sure why I remember that so easily. Then I remember just thinking, boink, or pew pew, sad little gun. Pew pew.
That's so funny. So Teresa, to me, when we talk about like a gun, I've looked this up so many times because I've actually shot people in the face in my dreams with a gun or their heart. So let me just have a look at gun. Yeah, it's sexual energy. If shot, notice part of the body that has been injured. So for you, it was not was bouncing off. So it wasn't actually affecting an aspect of you. If we bring it back to be you, that masculine aspect of you, you are losing energy from that chakra. Whereabouts? Was there anywhere particular that it was actually bouncing off him? Yeah. So Teresa, if you can actually pop that in the notes, we can have a look at that as well. Because even when a bullet's bouncing off, it's like, is there a message there around that chakra? Was it the heart? Was there anywhere in particular that you noticed? And the other thing that I'm talking about here is, if being chased by someone with a gun, you are fearful of your own sexuality. Well, it doesn't sound like that at all. So his chest, there we go. So Teresa's just said, yeah, his chest. And it's,
well, look, oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's funny because that dream I had where I had to pick up the gun because this guy was going to shoot us, I looked him in the face and I shot him in the chest. So that was the heart. And I was actually going through a very big heart opening and clearing and shifting. So Yeah.
And the heart, or the green, is the complementary opposite of the red, which is where the gun is actually coming from as
Is
well.
it
So
so?
it could have been a boundary issue. I'm interested in two things. Firstly, she's saying that the guy is attacking her, but your granddaughter's with you and you're laughing about that. So I'm just wondering if this is a feeling of, like, were you laughing in the dream, or does it give
No,
you an
it looks
amusing
like
feeling?
from during at the moment is one me and my granddaughter have laughed about for a few months now. So they've been it's the one she remembers that she's talked about with her granddaughter,
Oh, so her
and they've
granddaughter
laughed
wasn't
about
in
it.
the dream.
No,
Okay,
I would say they're just talking about it. So I think that's
yeah,
right.
that's
So if
good.
that's not right, Teresa, just throw it in there. No, we were
Okay.
laughing when I tell her
No,
about
no.
the dream. Yeah.
Yeah, so in that case, I would go with the red-green connection here, just
Mm,
from the areas of the body, the chest. So it's like she's trying to shoot someone. The bullets are barely coming out, which makes me think of the fact that it's a reflection. So when things are very slow to come into the energy field, I find they're normally for you. If they're actually something that we protect against, they fall off the outside of the quantum field, so things move a lot quicker there. So I would say it's something to do with the red and the green of boundaries, awakening to passion, awakening to wanting that heart space to be open, to wanting that deeper connection, and not feeling maybe as empowered about expressing what your heart desires, you know? If it was that we had that gun firing out, you'd be very clear. So it's nice to be able to be looking at what that um what's going on within the space that you find yourself in, and do you want to be in a different space? Is this a time for awakening to be in a new space, or is this time for protection against a perceived or real threat? Either way, balancing of the heart and the base.
Oh, that's a really lovely way to put it, Deb. And it's interesting because the chest, when I looked it up, it's a place of stored or hidden treasure, ideas, attitudes, or belief systems that are not yet out in the open.
Mhm.
If the body, heart chakra, God or love center within. So it's almost like you're ready to break through, or as Deb said,
Mm.
there's a boundary there. So
I
it's
think it's
interesting.
also reflecting on, perhaps she's trying to get her fellow to open up the heart space as well. The
Okay.
frustration that you feel in seeing someone's potential when they can't see it in themselves, or a disconnect from what was a passionate flow in that area. And, you know, because it's going out into someone else. So it's like, but yeah, I agree, in taking that reflection within and going, okay, where can I open my heart? Where can I learn to express my truth in that way that's balanced again? So seems to
And
be a theme.
safely. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that base is about safety and being, it's tribal, it's
Yeah.
survival, it's all of those things, the red, isn't it?
And wanting to forgive yourself if you feel like there has been some overexpression, as we're trying to create new boundaries, as we're moving away from being a people pleaser, for instance. People don't like it. So it comes out a little bit like that to begin with, if you've always held your tongue. So it's just like going easy on the self when we're expressing what your truths, what your wants are in that new expanded place of consciousness.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. Thanks very much, Teresa. I'm really proud that you remembered that. So, yeah, maybe now you'll start to be able to remember more with just writing them down and all of those little tips that Deb gave us as well. So, this is from Tridul. Hello, Tridul.
Try to.
Going to read that one?
In my dreams, the only weapon I have are swords of light or metal knives. Is there some significant for this? Yeah, absolutely. In my world. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you interpret that as, Deb, in your world?
Well, in my world, the elements of metal and the swords are all about the expression of truth from the mental plane,
Of
from the
course, the
perspective,
airs.
from the
Hmm.
place of, gathering those ideas. And I would say that, given that it's a sword of light, it's like shining the light on the way we use our words in the world, and knowing that that sword of truth can cut both ways, and it connects to all of the air world. So perhaps there is a new idea that's brewing, a new business idea, or a new space that you're moving into, and it's handy to use the swords to shine the light on things like the cobwebs around the mind that are no longer serving. So it's like wanting to cut away the dross of the mind in order to help drop into the heart space. So it's like, I think that's a really great one of clearing and cleansing, being aware that it cuts both ways. So we have to be aware to balance all sides of a situation, try on each one of the hats in order to feel what it is. And then, of course, tried you a little bit like whether you're using that aggressively or defensively, or whether you're just carrying that around as a tool. But in this instance, I would say it's a tool of being able to clear mind clutter that's no longer necessary for you, to get the focus that's necessary in order to be able to ground something new or a new way of being that's coming through, if that fits.
That's brilliant. And honestly, I think you're walking around with this book in your head because it
Really,
says,
I can see diddly squat.
no, but it's so funny because the sword says, truth, power, symbol of the two-edged sword of karma, as you sow, you reap. And there's our thoughts, as we always talk about, we create our own reality. So it's with your thoughts, honor, protection, search for truth, but also destruction and combat if you're using it, as Deb was saying, in a way of like that. And I mean, I guess a sort of light, I guess it's working more with the energy field. Deb, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's I just think it's a desire to make a spiritual connection and to be really clear in the mind about how we're talking to ourselves, how we're talking to the others. I think I get the feeling of it dispelling the illusion, or smashing some of the mirrors that might be there in the mind of trickery, and being able to really clear for the self. But I still feel like it's clearing here so it can drop into the heart. So once again, the blue and the yellow can come together in that green space. So I would also encourage, because yellow, even though it's down in the solar plexus, it's very much about intellectual. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
It's kind of like the intellectual part of us that's digesting or assimilating the things that we've learned or the things that we're learning. So I like the fact that it feels to me someone here is working a lot with grounding making a choice to live a deliberate or intentional life is how it feels.
Right. Okay.
Oh, nice.
And that's
Hang on.
beautiful. Yeah, what has she said?
Nigel says the only tattoo I've ever agreed to getting is a sword with doves on the handles down my spine. Nice.
Wow.
Because that's like bringing the dove of love and presence and peace. And the spine is actually what we relate to in Ayurvedic medicine or in Aurasoma as the Susamna, the channel through which all things flow. So we've got Ida and Pingala that actually come out around each one of these chakras in order to bring great healing. So it shows like great spiritual warrior of light and truth.
And to me, if you have a tattoo, to me, it's really, you're actually saying, I'm prepared to master this. To me, if you put that on your body, it's like you are working with that, which is really cool.
In this lifetime. Yeah.
That's right. And the light, when we talk about a sort of light, wisdom of God, power, energy, ability to see and understand the Christ light within. So that's just beautiful. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Tridal. That's amazing.
I hope that works.
So, yeah. And then Zan actually has popped a dream up. Let's have a look and see what she says. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, sorry, I was just laughing at Teresa as well, saying, why can't our dreams just tell us what they mean rather than being coded like this? I mean, we are all creators, for Christ's sake. It's a great power, but get confused about the bullets. Yeah, it's a case of learning to know thyself and your quantum field on a very deep level, because our dreams are trying to communicate to us from a place of our stored patterning. So the question is more so, have you ever stopped and dropped and allowed each day to be processed? Or are there things stored within our physical chemistry based on the experiences that we've had and based on the meanings that we have made out of them. And when we start to look like that, we know that there are 3 or 4 different layers and levels of understanding. And where they're connecting to us is from a deep, stored place that is strongly connected to our emotions. And the meaning that we make out of things is usually in our mind, which could be different to the feeling body and the chemical reactions in our body. So it's a nice, a nice blend of being able to learn how to communicate with yourself so it becomes clearer. Observe what it's like as you observe the bullets or the gun through the next few weeks if they pop up. I often find that dreams are repetitive and you get to reconnect, and each time it might show a different state of mind rather than a specific. That's just something that came through.
No, that's beautiful. And, it's true. And with dreams as well, Teresa, remember, you can actually become more lucid or awake during your dream and ask questions, like, okay, why am I holding this gun? What is my feeling towards the man? So ask questions about it, and you'll start to recognize that you're awake in your dream, which is really cool. As Deb said, you're able to go deeper and have some consciousness with it, which is really cool.
I like giving myself a running commentary. Oh, I'm seeing a purple truck and I'm actually driving a motorbike without shoes. And as I'm giving the running commentary, there's a different part of my brain that can hear from just observing. So, and I find that as I give that commentary, I'm just saying exactly what it is I feel, scared, joyful, run, stuck, mud, or something like that. And then if I can come forth with those 6 or 7 words in my mind, I can see where in my life during my day or during my week have I been scared, where I wanted to run, where I've been stuck in the mud, rather than it literal, but it's finding a way of communicating with the language that becomes familiar to you so that your subconscious can get that to you a little quicker.
I love it. That's brilliant. So, and Trigel said, do you want to read that out for me?
The Zan one? Yeah.
No, this is Trigel's. So
Trigel.
She just commented on that sword tattoo that she has.
Oh, it's a she. Okay. For some reason, I thought of Nigel.
No, it's Trigel.
Divine Mother's Sword of Justice is what I see. Yeah. And you're very true, because there is a card in the tarot that's the Justice card, and it's number 8. And it's the scales of justice, making sure that we enter the kingdom of heaven with our heart as light as a feather. So
and that the Justice, she holds a sword. She actually has a sword in her right hand.
Correct.
That's brilliant. So
balancing that again.
Okay. So, do you want to read Zan's now?
So I had a dream about one of my son's bears. And the next morning, my other son mentioned he dreamt about the same bear. We both described a similar experience. Awesome. Love those little confirmations of quantum entanglement.
So you've so is this when people actually are in that quantum space and they're connecting? Because I've done this with other friends. We'll be out playing in another dimension together, and she said to me before, you wanted to play last night, but I was going, no, I've got other stuff to do. So this is what's happening, is it? Is as you see it?
I think it's actually the precursor to us being fully telepathic and being receptive to reading and understanding other people's quantum fields as well as our own.
Yep.
It's less so about what specifics are there and more so about the transmission that comes. But in here, having a symbol of the bear between all of you, that's, it's like 2 people dreaming of the same person who's passed away at the same time. It always seems to give it a bit more weight to be confirmed. So I think that's wonderful, Zan. It shows a deep and endearing connection to you and your son. And I have this with my son, Tate, often are having exactly the same thing. And as I've grown through the years, I've come to learn that I receive some data from places I don't understand. And rather than sit there and feel in myself, oh, is it about this? Is it about that? I now just reach out to the people that I'm thinking it is, because I can actually just unhook from the worry and cultivate more of the trust. So exciting times for Zan and her sons to have a little game about who's remembering what in their dreams or what symbols popping up, so that, as a family, be interesting to see what bear turns up as too.
Yes.
It
So
was
it was
teddy
interesting
bear.
because it was teddy bear. I looked that up, and because it was teddy bear, to me, that's very trustworthy. It's very gentle. It's not like your bear, big
Mhm.
brown bear from the forest. It says strength, power, but then it says inconsistent emotional energy, not to be trusted. So but I feel that it's actually a link, more of a linchpin than that. So it can be cuddly, charming, or it can be violent or crabby.
Mm.
So I feel that
Yeah.
because it's a teddy bear, it's very safe.
And also, it could have been that the second son, who might have been going through emotional
Ah,
transformation and change, and the other two have picked up that they're here wanting to care, but also not wanting to interfere, and being able to, you know, connect to what you just said there, Magic, with perhaps there was some emotional turmoil in both of them or
mm.
everyone. Often it's not blind Freddie who can see,
Yeah,
but
that's
you really
actually a really
yourself.
good point. Yeah.
Mm.
So being able to feel on that emotional level, there's something going on. So the bear can mean that. Uh-huh. Okay. I love it.
But
That's
just
so
it'd be
good.
interesting, only Zan could tell us if the other son had been going through some more stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think he has a little bit. So yeah.
Okay.
And then, well, no, that was something that you're going to laugh at this. You and your intuition, young lady. You know how you said you thought it was Nigel? So she's
Oh,
got a
really?
son called Nigel. This is your
Okay.
intuition. Guys, this is the synchronicities and intuition that when we're in this beautiful space and we're talking about, our spiritual aspect, our deep subconscious, and we're heart based, this is what happens. So that is so cool. Thank you, Nigel. I love
Oh,
that.
that's amazing. That's
I
really
know.
is. And but it also could be, if we add a little deeper something in there. That was the one with the gun, right?
No, that was Teresa.
Oh, okay.
No,
What was
Nigel
Tyler?
had the sword. She had the
Oh,
beautiful. She
yeah,
used it
yeah,
as a
yeah,
sword of
yeah.
light, or the metal knives in her dreams. So
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
but isn't that interesting? I mean, I just love this stuff. That's what I think makes life heaps of fun. Is all
And
these little
yeah,
synchronicities.
Xana
Yeah.
said yes, he has. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, so you picked that up beautifully as well, because I was going, it's really weird. It's a teddy bear. So why is it saying it can be, the absolute opposite of that as well? So okay, thank you. That's
mm.
really cool that you actually just,
Sorry, I'm just a
tell you,
surprise.
our Deb walks around with this thing as a disc in her head, I reckon. She just knows. So that's really beautiful. But as I said, this is 30 years for you of dream analysis and going into deeper levels and working with it. And, I think these days, because the energy is so much more accessible, it's easier for people. It's not going to take 30 years. It's simply have an intention.
Yeah.
Make sure, as Trace said last week when we were talking about Ayurveda, make sure you go to bed and that you're trying to get to sleep before 10 o'clock. Eat, from 6 o'clock. Don't eat after 6 o'clock, because your body works in different ways. So
Mhm,
I think that will help as well if you want to remember
mhm.
dreams. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, for me, it's all about deepening that intimate relationship you have with the inner world. And, part of what I like to do is be a tour guide for the soul. So it's never to interpret what someone's inner land is like, but to be able to take them on a journey through there, to know
Mm.
thyself on a deeper level, to then be able to live an intentional life. So as we're walking forward, we can support ourselves, but I'm full on still work in progress. And,
Yeah.
it'd probably take the rest of my life to totally grok what's going on, but I'm getting quicker.
Oh, and Deb, I think things are going to change in such a
Mm,
way that we'll just be automatically connected into that quantum field. I mean, already we can do telepathy. Already we can, have moments
yeah,
of clarity. Well, I do with, being able to just have I get one flash of a picture and I
yeah,
know the whole story to it.
exactly. Yeah,
And
I'm
so,
with you there.
as this becomes more and more part of our reality, like you said, we're going to have to try and remember if we're in this
Yes,
3D or if
yes.
we're actually now just completely living in that quantum
It's true.
space.
It's true. And
Mm.
some days are so mystical. You're like, I don't actually know if I am dreaming, if this is something I'd set the intention from, or whatnot. I mean, along my way though, what I have learnt was we hear there's a lot of talk about the blue of ego or emotional ego or our head, you know, making a perspective.
Yep.
But there's also what I've discovered is an emotional ego, you know, and it's a really deep place because you can't convince the kids these days if they don't know that there's a different space that could also be true at the same time. Because if I feel it, this must be truth, you know. So we're moving into challenging that for ourselves. If I feel it, this could be truth in a certain perspective, and what other perspective could it fit with? So the more people are able to sort of view themselves as a multifaceted diamond and be able to look at each of the
Yep.
different areas of their life from each of the different areas, then it becomes so much more of an internal process that you don't need so much information from outside. But that's the biggest bit to fight for right now. Our consciousness is being fought over, and we're being absorbed
Mm.
into such a world of virtual reality that this particular symbiotic creature that's got all of these different capacities to be sensing different things, we need to be able to really build up a relationship now with what is containing our consciousness so that we can actually be strong enough to hold that for others that are also awakening in that time.
That's so beautifully said, because there's a reason why we are awakened. There's a reason why we have been doing this work for everyone that's on here. And it's true, because I feel we are going to be beautiful support people for others that are just getting sort of pushed out into this whole
Yeah.
arena of newness. So
And I think we
that's
need to really
beautiful.
protect that egg shell,
Yeah.
because there are already things that are stealing away all of our excess electrons. And basically, none of this works without having an excess of electrons to be able to actually make the leaps within our brain, within our quantum field. So putting into your life whatever you can that helps nourish you with an abundance of electrons, whether that be standing at the base of a waterfall, whether that be using an oil, or whether that be using a pomander spray, or anything symbolic or ritual, or eating great food. We want to bring life force into our life so that we can be a force for living,
Yes.
in a better way.
Absolutely. And same with music and frequency and vibration. And I always say to people, remember to run your white light through your electromagnetic force, because when our etheric is strong, we stay
Yeah,
well physically and mentally and
absolutely.
emotionally. So, but
Absolutely.
it's and thank you. And Trigel also said that's a combination of her two sons,
Yeah,
and Nigel is actually the empath. So that's really interesting, isn't it? So, and
perfect.
and thanks, Teresa. Yes, I would say hi to Jasper. He's been very quiet today, and I knew he would be, because when I was chatting to him this morning, he was just not saying much. I went, "You're going to be quiet today." So Jasper, yeah, always sends love, but he was just being extra quiet today. So,
Thank you,
but
Jasper.
we're going to actually end it there. So, but
Thank
thank you so much for coming on, Deb. You are just this huge walking dictionary, and apparently you're a Betty Bethard's dream book walking dictionary. And it was amazing. Thanks for bringing your colour in and all of your beautiful Orosoma analogies and wisdom. And if you
Pleasure.
want to, guys, if you want to connect with Deb, she is incredible. I've popped her all of her Instagram and email website down the bottom there. So
Thank
thanks
you,
everyone for
everybody.
being on, and guys, share this if
Thanks,
you
Patrick.
can. Yeah, you're welcome. But it'd be lovely if you guys can just share this and get more people maybe interested, and we can just have more and more fun with the dreams that everyone gets to experience. So
Say like and subscribe so that the
like
channel
and
gets
subscribe.
exposed.
That's right. And then I can stop, if we get more people that subscribe, I can get rid of the ads that when people watch it afterwards, because I can't get rid of them yet. All right. Love you all. Thank you
You.
so much.
God
Thanks,
bless
Deb.
all.
Bye.
Ciao.